Tenchi Masaki is training under the supervision of his grandfather, the shrine keeper. Tenchi has ignored his housekeeping duties and is searching for the shrine office for his grandfather's keys. Tenchi is then caught by his grandfather and he challenged Tenchi to take the keys from him. Teki lunges towards his grandfather, but is sent crashing into a closet. After his grandfather leaves, he manages to grab the keys. Tenchi heads for the forbidden cave near the shrine, a cave that has been locked for many years. Legend tells of a demon that is sealed inside the cave along with the sword that defeated it. Inside the cave, Tenchi finds the legendary sword, its blade rusted and useless. Tenchi shatters the blade against a rock, which splits down the middle, sealing the cave entrance and opening a secret passage. He ventures into the secret passage and comes to a huge underground chamber. At the center he finds a mummified remains of the demon from Legends. The demon begins to move as he approaches. Suddenly, the hilt of the sword glows brightly as the demon touches him, and it emits a burst of light, making the demon stagger backward. Spotting his opportunity, Tenchi flees the cave, reassembles the sacred sealing rock by wrapping it in vines, and the passageway closes behind him. At school the next day, Tenchi broods over his encounter with the demon. As he sleeps, he dreams about his meeting with the demon the previous day. When he awakes, he finds himself being watched by a strange young woman. She introduces herself as Ryoko, and when Tenchi spots her glowing yellow eyes, he realizes she must be a demon from the cave. Ryoko tells him that, having been imprisoned in the cave for 700 years, she is very angry, and wants to take out her frustrations on him. Tenchi protests, telling her that it was his ancestor, Yosho, that imprisoned her, but she attacks him nonetheless. Tenchi makes a run for it, with Ryoko in hot pursuit hurling explosive fireballs and a sword of light which she produces from a glowing red gem on her wrist. Tenchi finally escapes her by hiding in one of the school's science labs, but Ryoko catches up with him and corners him. Tenchi resorts to the old "what's that outside the window" trick to distract her and, when it actually works, makes a dash for it. When Ryoko realizes she has been tricked, the sparks from her weapon set off a gas explosion. Tenchi assumes Ryoko must have been killed in the explosion, but his relief is short-lived as she steps out of the flames, charred and blackened and angrier than ever. However, luck is on his side as Ryoko heads toward his hiding place. She spots her reflection in the mirror and stops to tidy up. Tenchi realizes that the gem on her wrist is the source of her powers, and thinks he can easily beat her now. His loud exuberance gives away his location, and Ryoko resumes her attack. He flees through the window, but bumps into her again outside. As she rushes to attack him, the handle of the legendary sword bursts into life and protects him with a blade of light. The sword cuts Ryoko's hand off, and the gem on her wrist explodes. Tenchi apologizes to her for cutting her hand off, but with a grin, Ryoko simply produces a new one from thin air. She then vanishes, leaving Tenchi to do a disappearing act of his own before he gets into trouble for blowing up the school. Tenchi arrives back home, exhausted after his combat with Ryoko. Thinking he will never see her again, he slumps relieved onto his bed, only to find that Ryoko is already waiting for him there, fast asleep under the covers. Hovering in Earth's orbit is a huge spaceship. Princess Ayeka of the planet Jirai awakened from suspended animation. She is searching for her lost half-brother Yosho, but the ship has awoken her to alert her of the presence of Ryoko. Ryoko is a criminal wanted for an attack on Jirai 700 years previously. Ayeka sets a course for Ryoko's known location. On Earth, Ryoko awakes and asks the bewildered Tenchi for the gems on the sword pommel. She tells him she needs them to summon Ryo-Oki, her spaceship, to protect them from the oncoming menace that is Princess Ayeka. However, it is too late. Ayeka's ship, Ryu-O, has already arrived. A warning shot fired at Tenchi's house is enough to convince Tenchi to give Ryoko one of the sword's gems, and she summons Ryo-Oki, which has been sleeping for 700 years on the bottom of the lake near the Masaki shrine. Ryoko and Tenchi try to make their getaway in the ship along with Tenchi's now flat-packed house and father. However, Ayeka sends her guardians Izaka and Kamidake, who look like large floating logs, to capture them both. On board the Ryu-O, Princess Ayeka asked Ryoko for information about the sword Tenchi was carrying. The sword is actually a Jirian artifact that once belonged to her lost half-brother Yosho. Ryoko knows nothing and suggests that Tenchi may know more. Elsewhere on the ship, Tenchi is trying to escape from his cage when a young girl approaches him. She is Princess Sasami, Ayeka's little sister. She opens the cage for him in return for his promise to play with her. She asks him to sneak into Ayaka's bedroom and steal her head ornament, and he agrees. While he is sneaking into her room, he spots the sword and tries to take it back, but Ayaka wakes up and her guardians give chase. He and Sasami manage to escape, where they find Ryoko. When Tenchi approaches her cage, the sword glows brightly in the part of the bar. However, their getaway is not successful yet. Ayaka catches up with them and learning it was Sasami who helped Tenchi get free. She then demands that Tenchi tells her where Yosho is. Recognizing the name from the ancient legend, Tenchi tells her he is sure that Yosho is the warrior in the legend, and that he died a long time ago. Ayaka doesn't believe Tenchi and orders her guardians to attack both Tenchi and Ryoko. Ryoko tries to use Sasami as a hostage but fails when the ship's vane stops her. Sasami then tries to stop the guardians to harm Tenchi, but then Yosho's sword starts to respond to Tenchi and the ship's vanes release Ryoko and attack Azaka and Kamadake. This causes Ayaka to think Tenchi is Juari's royal blood, which surprises her. Ryoko uses the opportunity to summon Ryo-Oki and escapes along with Tenchi. With Ryo-Oki speared onto the side of the Ryu-O. Both ship crash landing in the lake near the Masaki family shrine, which causes both ships to be destroyed. The next day, Ryoko enjoys breakfast with Tenchi and one of their newest lodgers with Princess Sasami. While Princess Ayaka is busy trying to haul the remains of her ship out of the lake without success as it sinks into the lake. On the planet of Jirai, a young Princess Ayaka is playing in a field. As she makes a crown of flowers, she spots a beautiful purple bloom and gives it to her half-brother Yosho. Yosho tells her that the flower royal teardrop is meant for sad occasions. The scene jumps to a few years later, as Yosho is leaving to fight Ryoko. Ayaka runs after him, begging him not to go, but as he turns he changes into Tenchi, who tells her that Yosho is dead. Tenchi gives her the master sword, and it bursts into flames as Ayaka wails with grief. Ayaka wakes up screaming from her dream. She gazes out of the window and spots Ryoko strolling across the surface of the lake. Ryoko is busy looking for something, and soon finds it, a large black egg in the middle of the wreckage of her spaceship, Ryo-Oki. Seizing the opportunity to tease Ayaka, Ryoko tells her that Tenchi is the egg's father. Tenchi is spared from further confusion when the egg hatches into a cute half-cat, half-rabbit creature called Ryo-Oki, offspring of Ryoko's deceased spaceship. Ayaka leaves in a huff and bumps into Tenchi's grandfather along the way. She is startled to notice a certain familiarity with him. Meanwhile, with Ayaka out of the way, Ryoko asks Tenchi where the sword is and is distressed to find out that he has given it back to Ayaka. Tenchi's grandfather enters and manages to cop a feel of Ryoko. She tries to land a punch on him, but her attack is blocked without any apparent effort, much to her confusion. Outside, Ayaka mopes at the lakeside where her spaceship crashed until her grieving is interrupted when Ryo-Oki tries to comfort her. She then walks into the woods. She spots a flower similar to the royal teardrops found on Jirai, and she breaks down in tears. A little later, as Ayaka follows Ryo-Oki through the woods, she spots Tenchi undergoing sword training with his grandfather. She notices that the sword techniques Tenchi is learning are very similar to those taught on Jirai, and she climbs a tree for a better look. Unfortunately, she falls and twists her ankle, leaving her unable to walk. As Tenchi's grandfather is dressing her wound, she asks him about the fighting style she saw them using, but he quickly changes the subject and asks Tenchi to carry her home. As they are walking back, a sudden rainstorm appears and they have to shelter in a storage shed. As they wait for the rain to ease off, Ayaka tells Tenchi why she was looking for her brother. Once the rain has stopped, Tenchi takes her to see the holy tree of the Masaki shrine. Ayaka recognizes it as the life tree belonging to her brother's ship. She uses the sword to activate the tree's memory, and it replays the events that led to Yosho being stranded on Earth, and how he defeated Ryoko by drawing the gems out of her and into the sword. When the playback ends, Ayaka gives the sword back to Tenchi, asking him to use it to protect her until she finds Yosho. Their conversation is interrupted by Ryoko and Sasami, who have come to find them. Ryoko is delighted to see Tenchi has recovered the sword, at least until Ayaka reveals that she gave it back. Ryoko storms off in a temper, while Ayaka leads Tenchi back home, leaving Sasami to wonder just what went on between them. This video ends here. Don't forget to subscribe and smash the like button if you enjoyed this video, and we will see you on the next video.